Leadership in business, like many things, can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, especially when that straw involves greedy leaders who are so bad at their job they aren't even good at being greedy. I'm talking about the leadership for the ARK IP, which of course means we don't have a single person or entity to blame because these companies operate under so many different names and with so many different subsidiaries interwoven between that it makes it very confusing as to who's making decisions and why they're making them. Today I'm going to be talking about console launch for ASA, as a lot of you have talked about and brought up, and you're frustrated and no one's hearing you, and it's time that at least we talk about how you launch a product, theoretically, and why this was such a complete failure. ASA was supposed to be launching across platforms at the same time. Right? Nobody gets it early. This was said multiple times as far as I remember, and it was, I don't know how far back they started to say this, right? But I assumed that this was going to be the case. They did say as well that consoles were going to only get crossplay later on, but at least they would be able to play with parity or at the same time as PC and just all the cross-platform, all the platforms that would possibly have it, right? They would be able to play at the same time. But obviously that didn't happen because instead we got a botched PC product that had terrible DRM in it that was promptly removed and pissed off hundreds of thousands of players in the process. And then of course, no console launch, right? Crickets, it was silence. Ironically, they had to basically wait for the Xbox launch to actually say anything about ASA. And so that's how Xbox sort of announced it, or that's how they announced it, which was through Xbox, which ironically didn't even launch on Xbox. So why even do it in the first place? What we've gotten over the past 2.5 weeks, right? It's been that long since we were supposed to get console ASA. What we've gotten instead over the past 2.5 weeks are the occasional press release that give us almost no information as to why this is happening and where things went wrong. Right? Why is no one taking responsibility? There's no single person saying, oh, you know what? Hi, I'm the CEO of Snail Games, and I accidentally or purposefully said that we could launch this product at this time, even though we were weeks away from it being ready, right? They keep citing in these PR announcements. They keep citing certification process. Oh, there's just these issues with Xbox certification. What does that mean? Right? I understand what certification means. It means that you're getting the product checked with the given platform, in this case, Xbox, right? I assume that's what certification is, based on how I've seen it described and what I've researched on it. But why is the certification process for this product specifically taking this long? And why are you blaming Xbox? If the game was ready for console, right, why would certification be taking this long? I don't understand. Even though I'm not a console player, even though I'm not an Xbox, I don't get it. As someone who studies mass media and marketing and management and so many different things involving business, this is frustrating for me to watch, right? Because I feel like in part of my own education, I've learned about how you launch different things, different products, how you respect your customers, how you respect your user base, right? Your fans or anyone that is going to be buying your product, how you actually give them what you should be giving them. And this is a failure on so many levels. And it's baffling because ARK has been out for 8 years. And yet the sole reason why this is happening is because of leadership. That is something I will continue to say again and again until I'm dead. It is leadership. All right. The reason why it was promised, the way that it was promised, was leadership. Right? That's not the community manager or the product manager necessarily saying that. Right? Because they just decided, I decided as X role that's not necessarily in a very high leadership role that we're going to launch in this time. No. This is the leaders telling them to say we're going to launch it this time for whatever reason, for if they think it's going to help them market the product, whatever, right? But if it's not ready and you know it's not going to be ready by that point, why would you do that? Again, I said at the beginning, the greedy corporations involved, not all of them are, right? But the very greediest of those involved with the ARK IP are so incompetent at their jobs that they don't even know how to be greedy. And that is baffling. I mean it's like we're watching 3-year-olds just trip over themselves right now in launching this product, because it's just amazing how out of touch all of these different parties were with Nitrado, with Snail, right? It is insane. How does this happen? How does leadership happen in this way, where you have such a convoluted, sort of strangled collection of ideas that just ruin something to this degree, right? I will say right now, and if you've seen my 100-hour review of ASA, you'll know that I really like the game. I think there's a lot of great things about it. They've obviously, Studio Wildcard has put an amazing amount of work into making sure that ASA is a good product. But if you're going to launch the product, and you say you're going to launch it on a specific platform, and it's going to have parity, and everything's going to launch at the same time, what happened along the way to where it's now 2.5 weeks and we're nowhere, right? It's just PR announcement after PR announcement, just saying, yeah, it's Xbox being Xbox, certification, right? I mean, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong here. Let me know in the comments, does certification take this long? And could someone explain why certification would take this long? Because they said they were having certification issues the first day that this was happening, and it's been 2.5 weeks and there's still issues. What happened? What critical game failure is making it to where this cannot pass cert? I'm just confused. And if anyone has any ideas, let me know in the comments. I mean, we have tens of thousands of frustrated console players. I've seen so many of these videos saying, oh, game looks great. Wish I could play it, right? Wish I could see it. And by all means, again, I want to preface and encourage and be clear that this is a first world problem. This is a video game product launch. But what I'm talking about is within the framework of that, right? Of how you launch a product, how you please your customers. And this is a failure in so many regards. Hardly anyone can run ARK Survival Ascended unless they have a 30 or 40 series card. And that's something I talked about in my review as well. So how is it going to run on console? Is that part of why this is happening? Is it that we haven't gotten any console footage or anything? They haven't shown anything, and they were just hoping, fingers crossed. And leadership was just like, yep, fingers crossed, everything's gonna be fine. They're just gonna pull a magic wand out of their hat and make it run on consoles just fine. Is that what happened here? Because I would assume that is. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to run, and whenever it does launch on consoles, if it ever does, presumably it's going to be, I'm predicting that it's going to be a bit of a mess on consoles as far as performance goes, especially with all the mod integration and everything involved there. But I guess we'll see. It's a baffling and confusing thing, specifically because we just have no reason provided other than just blame Xbox certification, right? Is that really the truth, though? Like, what if it's Xbox's fault? Why did you go with Xbox in the first place to hold off on releasing all of this information? It's bizarre, if anything. Extra Life was delayed, in I think 2 community crunches ago. Extra Life was delayed about a month, and this delay happened less than 24 hours before game day, basically. And so there was no heads up on that at all. I myself was planning on doing my Extra Life stream with a couple buddies, and we're going to still be doing it December 2nd, but raising 10,000, that's our goal. But we were scrambling to prepare and getting everything ready, and the night before it was gonna happen, they announced actually 1 month. And again, I'm going to emphasize, this is leadership, okay? This is their fault. When you are responsible for an IP, for any project, for any multiple projects, you are responsible for understanding how time works. And what this tells me is that for 8 years, there is still a problem with leaders involved in this franchise not understanding how time works, right? How it fundamentally works. How you be realistic with release dates, with time constraints, and with communication with your customer base. The marketing for ASA was one thing, right? I think that we can see now, looking back, that they were trying to be really cryptic with it because it was an amazing surprise when they launched. But part of that surprise was kind of zapped away by the fact that not many people got to play it. Allegedly 600,000 sales on PC. It's made a lot of money, fair amount, right? But that would be so much more on console. And there'd be so many more people able to play it right now if you had launched and taken advantage of that hype and launched when you were supposed to with everything, right? But again, it's just this failure to understand time, and you've frustrated so many people. I'm sure there are, of course, console players that are patient, that are okay with waiting, but you know, and of course, like I said, I'm not a console player. I'm on PC. I've been able to play, luckily, but it's frustrating for me to see the number of people just like banging their heads on the wall because of miscommunication, right? It's just, why does this still happen after 8 years? You've learned how to make a good game, but you have not learned how to communicate at all with your players, right? I understand. I do want to very much clarify that, and I've experienced this a little bit with, you know, assholes on the internet, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever, right? That write increasingly emotional, passive aggressive comments, right? This is going to happen with anyone, any public figure, anyone who begins to gain notoriety on the internet. And developers are no different. And it's important to understand that, you know, developers at Wildcard, all over the place, are getting death threats. They're getting just the worst kinds of messages and feedback from people amidst all of this. And all of those people deserve the utmost shame. I mean, that is obviously not how you handle this situation. And that's disgusting to be saying those things. Anyone who says that, just absolute piece of shit. Anyone who is so emotionally unintelligent that they send death threats to a developer, or are just incredibly passive aggressive to them and have no understanding of the fact that this is a leadership problem, and this is a problem with a product at the end of the day, right? And so ultimately, all that I would like, and all that I think most people here want, is leadership to step up, right? Developers to not be afraid, developers to be able to get the help that they need, outside of the community, to be able to, developers need therapy, okay? Everyone needs therapy, but developers need, you know, skills and tools to cope with the incredibly volatile environment that not even I have seen. I mean, the amount of stuff, the amount of messages that people like Dolly, the product manager, have gotten, that people defend because they're like, oh, well, if they just launch the product right. It's like, no. There is no if or buts when someone is getting death threats, okay? Stop immediately. If that is the first thing someone says, someone's like, yeah, man, it sucks that it's insane that Dolly was getting death threats. And someone's like, well, I mean, but it's like, no, there is none of that, okay? If you got death threats on a constant fucking basis, right? Regardless of who you are, right? You would not like that. It makes you feel horrified. It makes you feel scared. And if you don't have the tools, it can be incredibly debilitating, right? Which is why developers need to be protected. They need the right tools and services in the games industry in general to be able to handle the insane amount of backlash that the leaders essentially of these corporations offload by using and riling up the fans with their awful decisions that might seem unintentional, right? And then all of that hatred just seeps into developers because they're immediately the easiest to blame, right? So we need responsibility in this situation. I know it's unlikely. I mean, it's been 8 years. Why would some random college kid make a CEO decide to take responsibility? But that's what we need. That at this point, that's what we need. That's what all of us, anyone on console, anyone who wants to know what's going on, you guys need leadership to speak up and take responsibility for whatever happened with this product launch, why it went wrong, and why it's not out right now. So I hope you like this video, and that's about it.